Hi guys, in this video I'm going to talk about three interesting types of people, and perhaps you'll be able to work out which one you are or where you're at in this process, but you'll also probably be able to recognize other people as well, so stay tuned. So guys, over the last couple of weeks I've been, even by chance, catching up with some old friends, people I've known like 10 or 20 years, and then also sort of observing and thinking about other people that I know quite well and looking at the results that they're getting in their life, particularly in the area of how fulfilled they are and how happy they are. And something very interesting that I've noticed is there is no strong correlation between how much money someone has and how happy they are. In fact, there's no real correlation at all if you fall within two main groups that I'm going to talk about now. And if you fall into the third group, then there is a slight correlation between the two. But in most cases, being happy has got nothing to do with how much status you've been able to achieve or how much money you've been able to accumulate over your life. And you've probably heard this idea before, but when I heard someone inspiring talking about this recently, it really got me thinking, because they made this point, and it was an interesting point. They said, when you die, people are going to talk about you. In fact, even when you're around and you're alive, people are going to talk about you. And you probably realized this before. In fact, probably sometimes someone isn't there and you've been in a conversation where you're speaking about someone. So if you're to measure the quality of someone's life, it's an interesting gauge or an interesting measure to use how your friends and your relatives, the people who you work with on a regular basis, like people who really know you, how they speak about you when you're not around can be a good indication as to how you're doing as a human being. So if when you're not around, or if when you passed away, people say, wow, that person, they were worth so much money. Gosh, they had achieved so much wealth. They had such a huge company. Did you see their car? Gee, they had an amazing car collection. I mean, rarely do people go on much about that. Yes, they sometimes say, oh, well, so-and-so was worth so much, so many millions, or they achieved so many things, or they did this, or they did that. But I think what is more important is what people say about the character of the person. And I want you to have a think about what you think people might say about you when you're gone, when you're not around or you're not in the room. What would they say about you and about what sort of person they are? They might say, gosh, have you seen their car? Gosh, they've got a great car. Have you seen that house they've got? Wow, that house they have is absolutely amazing. But what do they go on to say? They say, gosh, they're a hard person. Oh, have you ever done a business deal with it? Oh my goodness, they are a backbreaker. They're hard. Oh, you wouldn't want to be in their family. Gee, it's hard to get a smile out of it. Oh, they're so serious. Gee, it'd be nice if they lightened up once in a while. Oh, they're just go. They never give themselves a break. I mean, is that how the people that you're around regularly might talk about you? These things we need to think about when we're making choices on how our life's moving forward. I'm at this stage in my life now where I'm getting close probably to the halfway mark. Halfway through life, thinking about how am I going to live the second half of my life. So I've been thinking about, how would people talk about me when I'm not around? Or how do they talk about me when I'm not in the room? What sort of person have I become? And it led me to, now look guys, they say that we learn better through pictures. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. So look what I've done for you today. I've done a few pictures, a few pieces of artwork to help to sum up different types of people that I have observed and people who you might have around you in your life. So the first group of people are lost. Now they're in survival mode and they're just living day by day, paycheck to paycheck. I mean, life is survival, and they're just one mistake away from things really being serious for them and for their life really going down the toilet, and they kind of live like that. It's like a survival mentality, and the way they think about life, the way they think about their free time, the types of conversations they have, the types of things they're even interested in are reflected in the level of consciousness they are at that time. And whatever level someone is at is just the level that they're at. It's neither right nor wrong. People have got free will. I'm just making an observation of what is going on. But people who are in that level have often, they've got a lot of pain, and they've got a lot of uncertainty in their life, and they are dwelling in these sort of lower realms of consciousness. So this manifests itself in the form of bad habits. Habits to do with what they eat, habits to do with how they treat their physical body, to do with the types of language they have, the sorts of conversations they have with people around them, the friends they surround themselves with, what they do in their spare time. All of that has got to do with the fact that really they feel like they're a little bit like in life, they're lost and they don't have much direction at all. I mean, they've got a job and hopefully they're surviving and they're moving along, but they don't really have a master plan and a goal of something that they're moving toward to help them to be a better version of themselves, to help them to sort of move towards higher levels of happiness, fulfillment and satisfaction. But a lot of people find that and they move into this next area, and I call them the focused people. And this is a massive group, the people that are focused. People that are focused have kind of somewhat got their stuff together, right? I barely said it, but they got their stuff together. And you can be at different levels in the focused group. You can be right up the far end where the person is very disciplined, they're very goal orientated, they are a hard worker, and they hustle and they push and they strive, and they find that if they can work hard, and when you focus in here on this picture of the focused person, I mean, they put on a brave face. There's a little bit of a wry smile there, but they've still got angst, and they've still got subtle anxiety, and within them there are still things that they know they probably should focus on. This is a person who probably knows what their issues are. In fact, they know they probably should take some time to kind of work through their stuff. But now's not the right time, right? Because they've got bills, they've got kids, they've got clients, they've got projects, they've got stuff they're working on. They're like, I don't have time for that at the moment, but you know, I'll get to it. And they move through this path of hustling and pushing. And if we're not careful, if we're in this focus, I spent years totally orientated in just the focus level. And you're working towards, if you're not careful, delayed gratification, delayed happiness. When I can finally get this, then I'll be happy. Whatever that may be at whatever stage in your life. Gosh, if I could just finish school, then I'll be happy. Oh my goodness, once I finish school, if I could just get a great job, then I'll be happy. Or if I finish university, then I'll be happy. But oh gosh, I need a partner. So if I find a partner, then I'll be happy. If I get a better job, then I'll be happy. If I had a better car, then I'd be happy. You get the idea. Gosh, if I could have a break and go on a really good holiday and spoil myself, then I'll be happy. And it's like, if you're not careful, you can fall into this trap of constantly waiting to really be happy. And in my case, waiting for the right time before you decide to place importance on elevation. Instead, you place importance on achieving financial gain or success or stability, because you then think, then I can relax. If I have XYZ money in the bank, if I have ABC job and this, whatever it may be, for some people it's a title or some sort of status that they were after. For other people it is some sort of number, that if they can have that sort of amount of money coming in, or they can be completely debt free, or they can have this sort of lifestyle, God, you know, then I think I could relax. Then I think I'll spend time on myself. Then I think I'll find the time to, you know, exercise better. You know, I do a little bit now, you know, I know it's important. They're at that level, they know it's important. Then I'll really get serious about my diet, because they're kind of aware of their diet, but they don't do as well as they could do. And they sort of go, if I've got the money, if I've got the stable, if I've got all these other things right, then I'll take the time to go within, work on myself. Maybe then I'll place importance on elevation of consciousness and working on myself and trying to be the best version of myself. But look, at the moment, I've got stuff going on. You know, if you saw my life, man, I've got the business and the kids and the stuff. I don't have time to sit out under a tree for 15 minutes, cross-legged in a puddle of peacefulness. I'll do that later. I've read about meditation. I've heard it's good. You don't need to tell me. I know all that. But at the moment, I'm focused on something else. So this is a lot of people. They're caught up in that. They're going, if this happens, then. And they've read the books. They know about self-help. They've got it all. But they still aren't quite at that point where they go, consciousness is the new currency. Nothing else actually matters. I now realize if I can get at peace and if I can get clarity within myself now, I'm going to be so happy, so fulfilled, so high vibe. I'll be living in such a high energy flow state that the money and the stable and the peace of mind are all just going to come as a consequence of me just living in this higher realm of just being at peace within myself. And this is what the elevated person's like. The elevated person, and the cheeky little clicking of the heels here that I've tried to draw in there, so bear with me, but is clicking his heels together because, hey, they've still got a plan. They're still working on stuff. They still hustle. They still drive. It doesn't mean that you're a hippie and you're pieced out when all of a sudden you're working on elevation of consciousness. It doesn't mean that you're not a high performance person. You can be a peak performer. You can be someone who is super fit, super motivated, a super high achiever with amazing relationships and amazing sense of fulfillment and clarity within yourself and this feeling like you're making a difference, and you can have an amazing contact with the spirit within yourself. You can have amazing understanding of the divinity that is within. So the whole spiritual awakening term, while it sounds a bit airy-fairy, it can still be a high performance person. And this idea of moving into an elevated state, and placing elevation of consciousness as the new priority, realizing that what we need to give importance to now is us actually learning to be the best version of ourselves right now. Do it now, and what you'll find is all the other things move into place. So we're going to talk through the process of actually becoming more aware and how you actually can learn to place importance on elevation and make that the number one guiding principle in your life, so that you can then get all the things that you want as well and move into your stable, but experience all the happiness and the high vibe and all the rewards that come through working on yourself right now. So we could call this the awakening process, but we could also call it, we could call it high performance. We could call it living in the flow state. Terms get used by different people, you know, the awakening process, high performance person, living in the flow state. But the process of moving into being a high performer or living in the flow state or going through the awakening process really starts with first the healing. And this idea of healing is something which we all come across, guys. Whenever you've met someone new and you really get to know them, you know, and you're going through the levels of just talking and eventually you're starting to become friends with someone, I'm sure you've noticed, almost without exception, once you really start to get to know someone, hasn't everyone you've ever met had some sort of pain, some sort of disappointment, some sort of thing that has happened in their life that has caused them stress, upheaval, caused them to be sort of damaged in some way? And that is what this healing is about. So often, a lot of the healing that we need to have happens through our childhood. The way our parents treated us, the expectations that they had of us, and the way they did their best to try and turn us into good, responsible human beings, but they were damaged and unhealed as well. So often our parents didn't do as good a job as they should have or could have, because they were coming from a place where they weren't elevated either. They weren't in a high state. In fact, our parents, right, they were either lost and just holding it together, or they were focused and they were working on their stuff, and they were using force and power and guilt and all these different terms and projections to try and get us to be good little human beings. But along the way, we got damaged, or you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, or you got picked on the school bus, or bullied at school, or you weren't a good sports player, and you get the whole thing, right? All this stuff happens in life, and you get ripped off by your business partner, or you marry the wrong guy, or you marry the wrong woman, or whatever it is. All these different things happen. You're in a car accident, you lose your health, you invest your money in a scam, or whatever it is. We've got pain. We've got pain, and how we deal with that pain influences how happy we are. What a lot of people do is they bury it, and they know they've buried it. They go, I've got stuff, but you know, it happened a long time ago, and it's probably better that I don't even go and dig that stuff up. Or if they're a little bit more elevated, they say, I've got stuff and I know it's there, and you know, I'm an explorer, but I'm not necessarily into excavation. I don't want to be an archaeologist and sort of dig up the pain of the past to clear it away. I'll just leave it buried there. I kind of know what it is. And it's like, I've got it together, but there is a difference. And I was speaking to a very good friend of mine the other day about intellectually knowing what your healing is and emotionally letting it go are different. In other words, the things you know you should let go of, but sometimes from an emotional level, it's still in us. You know, they talk about the person, you get all angry, or you think about that thing and you get all upset. That is the healing. As you do your healing, and whatever modality it is you use to heal, and there's so much great stuff out there, and Roxy and I talk about it a lot, but as you heal, the first thing that happens is you start to drop away the ego. Thinking like you've got all the answers, or look, you're no longer sitting there thinking, I'm killing it, I'm doing so well because of this or because of that, and I've got all the answers. And all of a sudden you don't care if you're right or you're wrong or not. It's just your perspective and someone else's perspective. You don't compare yourself to someone else and think that that is a measure of success. So you realize you are your own person and you're on your own journey. Once you've dropped away the ego and you've dropped away this facade, right? Because for years sometimes after this pain, after this hurt, whatever it is, those things that have happened to us through life, we build up this facade of a way to get through life, and the front is what gets the addictions. The front that we put up is what becomes a workaholic, or the front that we put up becomes like a block of concrete that won't open up and share the feelings. The real you is what you're getting healed, and you're sort of merging back with the real you through that healing. Once you've dropped the ego, which is just all a bit of a front, and you become just humble and kind and real, what you start to realize is emotions are good. It's good to experience emotions. See, before there was this false belief that we all had that big men don't cry, or if we let things upset us, if we get mistreated by someone and we get upset or we don't like that, then that's a sign that we're weak. We know we're not tough, we're not strong. Or if at times we feel overwhelmed, or if things are hard and we get upset by that, then sometimes people are quick to say, well, you need to just suck it up and tough it up and push on and ignore it. But as you heal, you realize, look, my emotions are good, and my emotions are actually indicators of further areas for me to heal. So in the beginning, you work on all the big stuff, right? And the big stuff's the easy stuff because it's really easy to see, right? Because it's big, it's there. But as you go through this process, and as we all go through life, we continue to heal. Healing is not just done once and forgotten about. Healing is something which we go through over and over as we go through life, and as we continue to experience emotions. See, one of the laws of the universe is that we need to experience duality in a constant basis. In other words, if we just only lived in a constant state of happiness and fulfillment and everything we thought of, we just manifested and things just dropped into our lap, we wouldn't really appreciate them as much. So the universe constantly gives us ebbs and flows where we get disappointment, or we feel like we need to strive, or from time to time we will have disappointment, we will have setbacks. But if we're in a high flow state, we realize that they're actually just there as a gift, helping us to move forward and to help us to elevate. So emotions and learning to tap into our emotions and feel them means that we can move through them. And when you move through them and you're in a high state, you can feel low and disappointed or despondent, but only for a very short period of time. And then you move back on to the next thing you're going to work on to help you to move forward in your success, because you've learned to use your emotions or master your emotions as a vehicle for helping us to realize that sensitivity and emotional clarity go nicely together, which is a great way to move on to step 2, which is clarity. So another word for clarity is freedom, because when you've healed, you free yourself from all of the things before that used to cloud your decision making and make sense of purpose so hard to find, make fulfillment so hard to find. Because when we are unhealed, there's all these complicated things in our subconscious, and they are pulling the strings of our decision making and our responses to everything in life. We have all these unresolved emotions about trying to please people. We have unresolved emotions about our ego stepping in and a need to be right. We have unresolved emotions to do with so many different areas of our life. And once you understand the emotions, once you realize that the emotions are good and you've cleared the pain out, and you've realized that you can tap into and understand and use your emotions to help you to see lessons, then you get the clarity. And with the clarity is the freedom to, first of all, really understand yourself and to be the real you. In practical terms, guys, this is like the freedom of anxiety. This is the freedom from worries, panic attacks, things that are influencing your decision, the constant doubt. If you've ever had that feeling where it can take so long to make a decision, you hate to be wrong, or you feel like at any time in your life there's uncertainty about the future. What if things go wrong? And you have this need for things to be stable and to be in control. If you've ever known someone who is a control freak, all of that sort of stuff is coming from the person being unhealed. When you get the clarity, you get the freedom to all of a sudden realize that a lot of that stuff doesn't matter. So what do you work on? Well, you work on things then that help you to express who you really are to the outside world. How you express who you really are to the outside world is through new projects, new expressions of your creativity or your spark. And you have projects, you have creations, just like we do here in the focused state. However, we have a lot more clarity on who we are as a person, what our values really are, and instead of pushing ourselves and working towards something which we think might make us happy, in other words, if I've got the car, that'll be happy, the house, the job title, this amount of money in the bank, then I can relax, then I can be happy. Once you have clarity, you understand, I'm now happy. I'm now more at peace. I have now more understanding of myself. So what could I work on? Let me choose something where perhaps I actually enjoy what I'm doing, where I could be of service to others, where when I do it, my attitude is an attitude that helps to bring out the best in me, my spark. I can have spark, enthusiasm, kindness, and interaction with other people. And you know that little saying, you can be a light to the world? Well, you can be a light to the world when you're healed, when you've got clarity, when you've got freedom. Because then who you really are, you know, who you are as a cute little 2, 3, 4-year-old cruising around with a big smile on your face and, you know, twinkle in your eye, and that wonder of childhood, that spark and that enthusiasm of a 2 or a 3 or a 4-year-old is what you can have as an adult as well. And that childlike enthusiasm, or that spark, or that genuine kindness and being a good person is a way in which each and every one of us can help make the world a little bit better place. We don't have to all go out there on crusades to save the universe or to teach everyone to, have some sort of breakthrough. Every single day we get an opportunity to help our fellow mankind through the way in which we let our love, our spark and our enthusiasm express itself out to other people. Letting them see that you're not lost. Letting them see that you don't have focused false things to give you some sort of fulfillment. To let them just see that you're at peace with you and who you are. You accept them as who they are and what they're doing, and you realise they've got complete free will, whether you agree with what they're doing or not. When you come from that place of just acceptance and being a really nice person, that clarity is so obvious for all to see, so that then you can start to commit to things that are really going to help you find your inner purpose. So when we're talking about commitment, we're talking about commitment to some sort of purpose or some sort of big idea. You will get led by your higher self, by your intuition. You'll get led to find ways in which you can create a difference in other people. So this commitment then comes through in you taking high performance habits and applying them to your life. So this is where this old idea of spirituality, where people just sort of sit around and wait for things to happen, is now getting transformed, because under this new area of elevated, you're in a high energy state, you're in a high vibe state where you're motivated, you're focused, you're connected, and the rewards are moving in with your ability to make things happen. So your synchronicity, your law of attraction, being in the right place at the right time, together with commitment towards some sort of purpose or big idea, something which gives you a strong reason why you're doing what you're doing. You're not doing it because you need a bigger car or a bigger this or a bigger that. You're doing it because it is an expression of actually who you are. You're doing something that you love. And when you do what you love, you're naturally enthusiastic about it. You can naturally commit, get up early, put in the extra effort, deal with the setbacks, deal with the disappointments, realize that it's got no reflection on you and who you are. It's just clarity showing you, I just don't know enough about this or enough about that. Or perhaps the law of duality showing me that if this is something that's hard to do, if this is something that's difficult but I really care about it and I'm passionate about it, if I commit and I push myself through it, then the rewards are probably going to be far beyond what I can consciously perceive before I even start. I mean, yes, it's probably going to be great, but it's probably actually going to be epic. So these rewards, the rewards of working on yourself, are a high vibe life, an elevated life. When you place an importance on elevation, you start to be a person who is fully living in that flow state. So day by day, the energy levels that you have are high. The types of thoughts that you have, the sorts of people you attract into your life, and therefore the conversations, the concepts, and the things that you are working on, your projects and the people that are around you are elevated and high vibe as well. And the beauty of this is an easy flow life. For you, when you're in that state, things flow easier for you. When there are disappointments, they don't set you back so much. You're still normal. There's still lumps and bumps in the road of life. However, the way in which they affect us is far smaller when we have this clarity and this healing and we work through this process. And guys, we continue to heal. We continue to need to draw ourselves back into a state of clarity. We continue to remind ourselves to commit. But if each time we place an importance on elevation and on being high vibe and realize that if we go within to be the best version of ourselves, we can actually find everything we're looking for. All of the answers are inside us. They're not out there somewhere else. And our connection to our higher self and the divinity that is within is able to then transfer itself out to everyone in the day-to-day life, in our actions, in our ability to be able to manifest the sorts of lifestyle that we want in our life, in your health, in your relationships, in your business and in your career, and in your ability to be able to be at peace with your thoughts and who you are as a person by moving through this process. So I'd like you to think about where you are and the people that you know in this particular area, and notice yourself moving through these stages, because sometimes, depending on which area of our life we're looking at, we can be in different states in each of those areas. So if we're made up of physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual aspects, if there are 4 parts of our being, sometimes we can be at different stages in different areas. For example, sometimes in the physical aspect of our being, we can wander off the track and get a bit lost, right? You lose your health. Ever had that? You hurt yourself. You have an accident, car accident, you get a sickness or a flu, and it won't go away, and it starts to affect you. It's not just affecting you physically, like if you've ever felt like low motivation, it's affecting your drive, it's affecting your spark. You're a bit lost just in that one aspect of your being. It might even flow over to others. Of course, you can bring yourself out of that, and you can heal and you can repair, but it might take some focused effort. It might take you physically actually needing to go along and do something or see someone to get help, to get your health back in order, or for you to work at yourself at a mental level before you're back in balance physically and you're feeling unreal and in flow. It can happen in the emotional aspect of our being through conflict. So if you have a big argument with your mother or your father or your brother or your sister or your business partner or someone at work or your next door neighbour or whoever it is. I mean, have you ever had a fight with someone and you lie in bed at night just thinking about it and it's frustrating? It can be very frustrating sometimes, can't it? You can have an argument with someone. Sometimes you can come up with some of your best lines hours too late, but that's not useful, right? You're thinking, I should have said this, I should have said that. You're out of balance, you're a bit lost. You've lost your focus in that emotional aspect. It can happen in the mental aspect to do with stress. If we're overworked, if we've got too much pressure on us, put too much on our plate, if you feel a bit out of control and overwhelmed, you're just momentarily lost. So by getting yourself focused, by helping yourself to get clarity, committing to a path of how can I get this mental aspect, this mental stress under control, you can pull yourself back into balance in these 4 aspects of our being. Because where we're in balance in those 4 aspects of our being, that's where the strength comes. So guys, keep working on yourself. Keep setting high expectations for yourself and setting a subtle goal for you to be the best version of yourself. Because you want to remember that when you're not around, people will be talking to you. But most importantly, when you pass, think about the sort of things people are going to say about you, the sort of person that you have become. That is why we're wanting to be the best version of ourselves, because what we are is not measured by what we have become and what we have achieved compared to other people. It is what we have become and what we have achieved compared to what is possible within us. And so often we are capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit for. So, dare to dream big, guys. Do the hard work to heal. I know it's not easy. I know you'd rather just leave all that stuff alone. But if you commit to it, the rewards are out of all proportion to the effort involved.